So Screambox has a brand new found footage style mockumentary called Project MK HEXE. And this is about two brothers, one of which has committed suicide, and the other brother is now looking into his death, thinking that there is something more going on here. And what he uncovers is his brother's obsession with a defunct mind control government conspiracy called Project MK HEXE, very similar to MK Ultra. And yeah, he goes to try to uncover the conspiracy and what the brother found, and as he digs deeper in, things start to go haywire.
Yes.
He does this with the help of his brother's friend, and they're interviewing his parents and his friends, and he's researching all of this stuff online about this, but every time he tries, it starts disappearing. So, okay, the movie's almost 2 hours long. For a found footage movie, that's an eternity. We just watched 8 Blackwell Ghosts movies, and I think they ran accumulatively as long as this film.
No.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Not.
This is a ridiculously long one. And it feels it, unfortunately. This is an ambitious movie, I will say that for sure. The movie tries to pack a lot in, and when you have almost 2 hours of runtime, it's like they really went overboard. Unfortunately, a lot of it does become a tad repetitious, right? They're really pushing a lot of information very, very quickly. So there's a lot of scenes that are at warp speed of all of these documents, and it's mostly like his brother's journals and his writing. And I feel like if you were to become almost like an obsessive conspiratorial type of person like this brother is in the movie, you could take this movie frame by frame and read every single one of these pages, but they must show you 500 different journal entries, documents, this and that, but they are at, as I said, warp speed, flying by the screen. Kaylee and I were laughing, like trying to read out loud anything we could from each page, just being like, hubba, 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 hubba. It's just like one thing after the other. And it's just like, I don't know what the heck, you're inundating the audience with so much information so fast.
Yeah, because typically, like, in, like in mockumentaries, they'll, if they do show a bunch of images of, like, journals or whatever really quickly, they usually go back to them and then maybe, like, linger a little bit longer so you can kind of read more that's on the page. And this one, there's so much, which... The only reason that that's a downside is because the pages look really cool, and it's like very clear that there was a lot of work put into, the props in this. So it's like I did want to see them a little bit, slower, I guess.
Yeah.
But I also think that it is intentional to do it so quickly because it's also supposed to mirror just like this sheer amount of like research that is like gone into this and kind of like overwhelm you as well.
Yeah, or lore that's being created for the film, right? Yeah. There's a good amount of these conspiracy theory rabbit hole type films that they've put out in the mockumentary style, whether that's Lunopolis, which is an extremely overlooked found footage film, or The Conspiracy, or like we've seen quite a few of them at this point. I do commend the film for kind of swinging for the fences on some of this. They definitely put a lot of effort into what they were doing.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm kind of like blah on the film, unfortunately. I really, really did want to like it, and I do think there are snippets of cool things going on in here, but the movie's moving way too fast for me to latch on to the information that's being given to me and buy into like the mystery, the conspiracy, the cover up, right? It's all just so fast. There's even like a photosensitivity warning at the
Yes, which
beginning,
is
and a lot
actually
of that has to do, I know, I'm sure it's also with something else in the film, but I feel it's almost ironically there for me, because it's like just the information they're flashing by so fast felt like it was going to send me into an epileptic seizure when I'm not even.
yeah. So there is a lot of bright lights and flashing images in
There
this.
is.
This is a case where it is important to the film, like it's part of the story and part of like what's happening, so
Right.
it's hard to get around that. It's not like pointless or anything, like some films will just throw in crazy lights or whatever, but it is a lot, so I am glad that there's a warning in the front, because I do have a really hard time watching, like for a lot of the scenes where those images were like flashing, I couldn't really look at the screen.
Yeah.
So, which sucks, because like they're, you know, you're missing some of the stuff that's happening and like creepy things that are happening between the flashing lights and such. But it is important for the film. I think maybe I'm a little higher on it than you. I definitely am not in love with it, but I think it's a really cool concept. I think it's a super ambitious film. And I really like admire that and appreciate it, and I really do dig like the story itself. I think it works really well in the found footage like style, and it's very like it's not ARG, but kind of like creepypasta. Like I don't know. There's a like a modern internet horror vibe going on for obvious reasons, and I was really into all of that. And I think that there's actually some pretty creepy elements to this. Like there's one scene in particular with somebody crawling around that freaked me out a decent amount. I thought that was really creepy. And then there's also some performances in general that I thought did a good job at the creepy factor. So I don't know. I do really appreciate everything, but I think that part of it might be the length, because it is and not in a, there is a lot of information, but some of it I think probably could have been tailored a little bit more to be a bit more streamlined.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot happening in this, and there's a lot of different threads that it's trying to pull together, which it does also, like I said earlier, even with the like the journal pages or whatever being shown so quickly, it does also feel intentional, because you kind of feel like you're the conspiracy theorist trying to like connect all these lines, but it's weird. It's almost like it's too long, but also it's too fast for how much stuff is happening, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's like you either need to kind of narrow it
Condense it,
in and then spend more time on each of those parts, or lengthen it so that you can spend more time on each of those parts. You know what I mean? So that's I don't know, I feel like that's a weird criticism, but that's kind of how I felt, because I was interested in what was happening, but there was just a lot. There's a lot going on.
You know, while watching this, I thought about how the fact that I don't feel like we've ever seen a mockumentary style found footage thing done as like an episodic television series. You know, there's so many. Like that's one of the most watched things currently on TV, on Netflix, on whatever, is the like docudramas or you know, the true crime shows with like 4 episodes to tell one story. And I feel like not enough scripted horror shows do that style, if any. The only thing I can even think of off the top of my head is when they reworked Howard's Mill into an episodic form, but it was just the film with like a director's cut, a little extra added stuff here and there, but they made it into episodes. And I think that actually could have worked really well with this story. Had they made like 3 or 4 45-minute episodes and broke down each part of the story. Like, get into the information he found in one episode. Get into the experiment itself and all of the information that you then found after going through his information. Then you deal with the suicide and the family and all of their attachments to it and their connections to it and whatever. Shout out to the mom in this. She's fucking really, like, solid in this film.
She is one of the...
She's kind of unsettling because she's, like, trying to keep this smile on her face.
Yeah, she was one of the performances that freaked me out a decent amount.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Like, there's some good stuff with her. And overall, I liked everybody's performance. There's, some amateur stuff here and there.
Yeah.
But I thought that it overall felt pretty natural. I think our leads did a good job carrying it.
They did.
There's a couple scenes maybe that it was like
I didn't
a little amateur, but overall, like, I think it felt fairly natural, which is good.
Yeah. By contrast, I think the father was the weakest of the actors. There's quite a few times where he gets angry and it came off as very forced. I'm pretty sure he's probably just a really nice guy in real life, and he's just like couldn't really bring himself there. But I didn't really buy into. I shouldn't say buy into. I didn't really care for our main two characters that much. The fact that this guy's brother is dead, they do a good job of like providing, because there's a lot of effort, as I had said, put into this film. There's a lot of like home videos from when they were younger, family videos of them as kids with their family, a bunch of pictures that looked, real most of the time. So this was a passion project. This was a labor of love for sure, and I think that they were successful to a degree. Of course, this is just my opinion on the matter, but I feel like because they were focusing so much on the conspiracy side of things, we did lose a bit in connecting to our main characters and really feeling for them, because when we get the ending we have, and there's some side plots that are there with like this like YouTuber mom character, stuff like that, and that's fine, but that's why there's too much going on. And it's like we're kind of moving away from the central theme and the central characters a little too much, and it's breaking up the film and taking us away from what matters at the core.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was meaning. I think that I was really interested in all of those other elements, but it did feel like a lot on top of the
TV series.
The main, I think this would have been great as a TV series, actually. And I also wanted to say that there's some pretty cool effects in this, like CG, that I feel like is like the video, like there's some distortion in the footage that happens that kind of like disguises maybe like the quality of the CG, if that makes sense. And I thought that was done really well because it actually ends up looking pretty authentic, I thought. So I was actually pretty impressed with the special effects in this, because there was one scene that I won't be that critical, but overall I was pretty impressed with the effects. And yeah, I don't know, I think this is a success at the end of the day. I think that it is something for found footage fans to watch, to support, because it is this, like passion project, as we've been saying, very clearly like a labor of love. So much detail was put into it, and care in the props and the lore and all this stuff. And it's definitely important to support it. And I hope to see more. Like, I think that this is a good, like, I want them to make a TV series version of something. I think they clearly have a lot of ideas, and I don't want to miss out on those, but I want them to have like proper like stage screen time. Yeah,
it's too long as a movie and it's too short as a TV series. So it either needs to be edited down and more streamlined, like you said, to be a film with this story, in this style, or it needs to be expanded upon, restructured, and put into a television series. And I think that either one of those would work to its benefit. But I think the TV show is the better of the two. Because weirdly, and I think this is just like a trick of our brain, people feel like they are sitting there for too long when they watch a 2-hour film, but they'll sit there and watch 15 episodes of a show in a row for like 10 straight hours.
Yeah.
They'll be like, no, I don't have time to watch a 2-hour movie. I'm going to go watch 8 episodes of Lost.
Yeah.
There's something weird about that, the way that television is structured.
I think because it's like broken up, so you could theoretically stop it after a couple episodes or something.
I don't know
but
what it is.
TV can be very, like, especially if it's done well, and you want to know what happens, you want to keep watching the story unfold. So.
Yeah. I know most people are like that. I'm not one of them. It doesn't, like, 2 hours is 2 hours to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit down and watch 2 1-hour episodes or 1 2-hour film. It's the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I don't see any difference.
That's fair.
But I get that anyway. So that's that. It's on Screenbox. You can rent it on VOD, I think, as well. But this, for me, is one of those movies that I would only recommend to big found footage mockumentary enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So, anything more?
That's it.
All right. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.